Alors, midi presque 18 à New York, désormais tous les bureaux de vote dans le pays sont ouverts, même à Hawaï, et nous allons vous fédérer.
Viens me voir! Viens me voir!
C'est extrêmement long. À quelle heure fermeront les derniers pour le vote à peu près? Ça dépend de l'État. Ici à New York, les bureaux ferment à 9 heures, mais en Californie,
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
It may upset certain viewers.
Oh my God, guys, what is that?
You have fun?
Please, can we go back? I don't think we should be here.
Come on.
Guys, this isn't
Yeah.
funny!
Yeah.
On the camera! Get back!
Check it out. Get out of the way, man. Get out of the way. See that shit? Oh, that is wild.
Ouah, c'est quoi ce truc?
The light wave here to indicate to you and give you some kind of proof that everything is of the same. If light puts things together, then we could take them apart. And this is one way I did it. I put a little experiment together. And this is what I did. I drew a triangle on a table. Then I got 3 little tetrahedrons, which were coat hanger wire. And they stood one here like that. Here's your tetrahedron here. That's about to show. There's one stood here and one stood here. And here's the point of them. They're looking at each other. Let's put it on a plane. There's one standing here, and there's one standing here, and there's one standing here. Okay? Now, of these 3 tetrahedrons, they're only about 9 inches high. And they were only made of wire. But the shape that I was talking about has an influence on it. The shape of those tetrahedrons created a movement inside let's call it a pyramid. And the movement itself started to cooperate with the other 2. This one's talking to that one and that one. Now, I put a little wooden arm here. I'll draw it sideways. It's like a lamp post. Wooden arm, and this arm stuck out. And on the end of here, I hung a piece of string with a small piece of zinc, pure zinc, about 2 inches long, 1.5 inches wide, and a 1/16 of an inch thick. And I hung it here, like that. It's over here, stood here, and it's hung down there. Here's your zinc. So, between this pyramid here and this one here, they are talking to each other, if you like. That's in simple terms. What is happening is that they send electrons to each other. You probably heard about Tesla's energy through the ether. These do it naturally. Now, the energy that was being collected into here, I'll describe exactly how it happens in a minute. But these 3 pyramids are talking to each other. In other words, this one's sending energy to, it can't go to there, it goes to the nearest thing that attracts it. So the energy is shooting from here to there, and there to there, and there to there. Now, anybody will tell you that zinc is a pure metal. It's not made of 2, 3 different items. It's just pure metal. Well, I beg to differ, because after about 3 weeks of this bombardment going on, these were sending out electrons towards each other and hitting the zinc. Now, zinc is held together in proton form. That's way beyond the electron. Now, if you hit zinc, or I'll do the zinc, that's one I use. If the electron hits the zinc, electron can't come out. It wants in. The only thing it can kick out is a proton. So all these 3 were bombarding these electrons, And eventually, like it's kicking protons out, eventually the whole thing collapsed onto a little pile of powder here. A little pile of powder. And when I had that powder examined, it was a dirty calcium. Now, if you know the weights of your elements, you'll know that off the top of my head there's 65 point something, and 40, I've got them here somewhere. There's about 25 moles per gram difference in the weights. 40 point something, 40.8, I'm not sure, doesn't matter. There's about 25 moles per gram, that's molecules per gram in weight. That's atomic weight. So if you took the same amount of each, this would weigh one, that would weigh that, and one would weigh that. Because this one here, the calcium, was found higher up that scale on the lighter side than the zinc. That was found down here. It was heavier. Now when I saw the difference that I had in weights, I tried to find something in the periodic tables that had that weight. But what had I removed? All I know was that my zinc had collapsed, and I had it tested, and it was calcium. I tried to find a number that would equal that, and not even a combination of different numbers would give me that answer. So I had to look for something else. And it was obvious to me really before I started that I just wanted to be sure that what I had removed was energy. I hadn't removed anything you can give a name to. I had removed energy. So I put this in a little tiny bag with hung it on here, and I repeated the process. And believe it or not, after about 6 weeks, it's longer this time, it got smaller and smaller, and it changed color too. And all I had when I tested it was aluminum. I'd come from zinc to calcium to aluminum. And there's a funny side of this, because a doctor will say that you know, you don't have enough calcium in your system. I'll give you some calcium tablets. At the same time, somebody says, don't cook in aluminum pans. It's bad for you. You get the calcium tablets. There's aluminum in it, isn't there? At the same time, somebody says, don't cook in aluminum pans. It's bad for you. But when you get calcium tablets, there's aluminum in it, isn't there? Energy-wise. Not only that, they say, okay, get out of the aluminum and get out of the calcium. I'll give you some zinc tablets. They gave you all three. Because in energy form, like I told you when we first started, we must regard everything in its electrical magnetic form. Else you're not going to understand me. Reduce everything in your mind to the electrical and magnetic. And I will give you numbers. You can work these out for yourself. If that's the weight of an electron, you can prove it if you've got a calculator there. I know for a fact that hydrogen is 720 electrons. That's hydrogen, 1 point something. So if you take this number here and divide it into any one of your elements on the periodic tables, you can find their electronic magnetic content. Now in a few minutes we're going to turn to something else that it's a continuation of this, but I'm going to take you inside a crystal. Now if you can imagine the 30-foot pyramid that I have, now, if you can imagine the 30-foot pyramid that I have, knowing that it contained energy and it's free-flowing, it's always coming in and man, it's non-stop. I said, well, why can't I harness this? Little crystals will do it. Why can't I harness a pyramid? So I made myself, I'll just go to the blackboard there and give you an idea what I'm talking about. I made myself 2 coils. One is just a small one like this, and it was electric coil, counterclockwise. And I hung that on top of the pyramid. But before I did that, it was stove wire, and there's about 8 strands of copper wire and stove wire. And I undid them and made them into a lot of fingers like this, spread them out, something like an antenna. And this end here, I just hung it up, fastened it onto the beam, and it was right in the peak. Now I went downstairs, and I had a spare piece of plywood, quarter ply, and I made a magnetic coil with old antenna wire, with living wire. And I'll put one end straight through into the earth, so looking at it like this, stuck through there, and we might coil it on here like that. And the other end I left standing up, connect. One's into the earth. Now all this wire here, it's only quarter ply, and I used 2-inch staples. Stapled it straight through the ply and gave me a better ground. This was also ground in the centre. There are many things that have happened to me in my time that I can't really explain. There are many things that I have known, but don't know how I know. And this is one instance where this happened to me. I knew I had to connect these 2 together with some natural wool, sheep's wool. Nylon was not what I wanted. And so I got hold of some ordinary wool, and I measured it out. Up the stairs go right at the top. I measured it out so to come from here to within 6 inches of the floor. Plenty to fasten to that and to fasten to this. Now I stood on some steps up there and fastened it there. I just went there and tied it down. It's simple. Nothing clever about it. Just fastened it to this copper wire. And I hung this down through the steps, through the stairway, until it was hanging down. It wasn't touching the floor. I went downstairs to connect this to that. And as I caught hold of that, it threw me 20 feet across the floor. I'm 180 pounds. And it picked me up and threw me 20 feet across the floor. I've got no skin on this elbow here and all down my leg here. And I lay there for about 5 minutes at least, I don't know what happened. All I had done was touch the piece of wool. Now, this wool had gone through, it wasn't even connected to this, it had gone through my cube root of the pyramid, which was about here, and up to the point, the second magnitude there. That part was connected. And when I touched that, I grounded the whole damn thing. It threw me 20 feet across the floor. I didn't know what had happened to me, and the result of it was I took the whole thing to pieces. I still have the top. Nothing was rotten. And I realized that I was fooling around with something I didn't really understand.
Out in